as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back here to Wager Talk TV. Happy Tuesday to you. I'm happy to be back here with these guys breaking down the NHL playoffs here after 2 days off. I was at a wedding in beautiful Montreal. Great time there. Happy to be home, though. Let's talk about last night real quick. I mean, we saw a sweep take place in the second round. Tampa Bay Lightning get it done, and they prove once again they can do it in high-scoring or low-scoring fashion. Limiting Florida to 3 goals in the entire series. That was quite shocking to me to see that. Of course, the President's Trophy winning Florida Panther team. I mean, that's just was completely just shocking to see them only score 3 goals in that series. And I had a 5% on the over in that one. And as Steve Merrill says, don't try and catch a falling knife. And unfortunately, that's what I tried to do last night. And I guess Tampa Bay was the play. I figured we'd see one game with some outbursts of offense, and we did not see that. But the 5% plays have still been pretty strong. Let's talk about the late game. Nazem Kadri gets a hat trick. And you know what, Carm, on one of the other shows you had a couple of days ago, I believe you were talking about karma. And I think this is karma at its best. It makes me absolutely sick, all the comments that were being said and, nasty things mentioned towards Nazem Kadri about bumping into Jordan Binnington. Guy goes out there, gets a hat trick, shows how deep the Avalanche really are, and they get the job done. Now lead that series over the Blues 3-1. So just really an unbelievable day of hockey yesterday. 2 dominant victories in 2 different ways. So many shots on goal for Florida, but nothing to show for it. Look forward to getting your guys' thoughts. Of course, today's games we're going to break down. We have the Battle of Alberta, Calgary, and Edmonton. And of course, the first game we have Carolina and the New York Rangers. Carolina leads that series 2-1. It'll be the second game in New York. But Carm, last night, man, just 2 interesting scenarios there. But I got to say, man, I was really happy to see Kadri have that game that he did have.
Yeah, all you need to do, if you haven't already heard about it, if you haven't already seen it, is just go to Twitter and punch in the name Kadri, and you'll see, I think, some screenshots of the messages that his wife has gotten on their account, which DMs, which are pretty disgusting. And I think the 4 that they showed, those accounts are now all private. They've actually, some of them have disappeared off of Instagram. But instant karma. If you look at it. Andrew, it's just social media at times it's just a cesspool at times. But let's talk about the games instead. That first game last night, I thought there was going to be goals I thought there'd be goals in both games, to be honest with you. So I went 1-1 as far as the totals go. And Florida brought it in the first period. They had, I think, 17 or 18 shots on goal, but much like it's been a reoccurring theme through the first 3 games. They just couldn't get anything past Vasilevsky. They just looked unhinged at times offensively. They're not the same team in the playoffs that they were during the regular season. And I talked about it on yesterday's show. The fact that you scored in the regular season, sometimes that doesn't equate into wins in the playoffs. And I've talked about the Maple Leafs that way. You look at the top 4 scoring teams this past season: Florida, Toronto, St. Louis, and Colorado, and only one of them is going to be left going into the conference finals. And when everything is said and done, you need a defensive game, and it's similar to what I said about Tampa Bay. I got not trolled, but I got negative comments talking about Tampa Bay in the last month of the season. It's talking about how the 2 previous years, this team is shut down. During the last 2 months or last month of the season, the last 2 previous years, as Cooper managed minutes, those games were important. They weren't important. He knew they were making the playoffs. He knows they can win on the road. They are built to be well. And all I got was comments of they're a different team this year. Their 3rd and 4th lines, they lost players. They're not. They don't have the depth. Well, they have the depth. Look at their 3rd and 4th lines. I mentioned it yesterday. 6 of their 11 goals in the series were scored by the third and fourth lines on the team. They won in every facet of the game against this Florida team. They dominated them in this series. I think they outscored them 15-3 in 4 games. Absolutely masterclass by the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions, and they're on their way. They are on their way. They're going to play Carolina or the New York Rangers. We'll find out, in a week's time who they're playing. But we can't discount this team. They're playing absolutely fantastic hockey right now. Buster, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was quite pleased with the whole scenario, as I had Tampa Bay plus 150 for the series, which I was shocked that we got in that position. But, those things happen. Again, Florida is another team, like another team we're going to talk about later on today, that is actually showing up and playing well. But Florida, if you can't score, you can't win it in playoff hockey. We talked about it a bunch now. What wins playoff hockey? Believe it or not, at the top of my list, head coaching, goaltending, and a good defense that can turn to offense. Tampa Bay has all those. So that, again, I'm not surprised I had them against Toronto for a big play. I had them for another big play against Florida. So I'm quite pleased with that result. Got 2 great games tonight. So let's get to them. No one wants to hear me talk, so let's go.
We definitely want to hear you talk, Buster. Cash and winning tickets this playoffs, man. We definitely want to hear you. But Buster,
you want to hear me talk about the next 2 games?
Yeah, okay.
Dude,
let's do that.
I love Andrew. I'm just going to jump in there. I'd love to listen to Buster talk. He's my favorite Tuesday puck time guest, man. So let's
you said Tuesday.
Favorite guest on Tuesdays for Carm. All right, well, let's get into the 2 games today then. We got 2 interesting games here. This is a pick'em, our first game, with the Carolina Hurricanes visiting Madison Square Garden, playing the New York Rangers here. They lead the series 2-1. Last game, another low-scoring contest here in favor of the New York Rangers. We've seen unders here between these 2 clubs. It's been a battle of depth and a battle of defense here, and goaltending, of course, between these 2 teams. Now, when I said prior to this series that, I think that we're going to see Carolina steal one on the road, we didn't see them do that against the Boston Bruins. We saw the Carolina Hurricanes protect home ice with that higher position in the standings, and that's what led them to success. I always talk about Rod Brendamore, the way he was able to construct his lines, send out those matchups, and that's the advantage you have when you are at home. You get to decide those matchups. But that performance that I saw from the New York Rangers in their last game, I'm not sure they can replicate that at home again. It was a rock-solid performance, limiting the Carolina Hurricanes the chances, keeping them to the outside. Outstanding saves by Shesterkin. I'm going to go ahead here and take the road team to get the job done tonight with the Carolina Hurricanes. They created plenty of chances. They've got plenty of depth. And, they have a proven ability to bounce back after games like the one that they just had. So I think we're in for a great series. However, I do think Carolina can steal one on the road. Give me the Hurricanes here, Carm, to get it done tonight. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Andrew, it's funny because you talk about catching a falling knife with that total yesterday. Sunday, I tried to do the exact same thing. I like the over in the game, and I talked about some analytics behind it, and through the first 28 minutes of the game, I think it was 8 minutes into the second period, the flow of the game was back and forth. It's 2-1 Rangers, and I'm feeling so good about my 5% play. I thought, my God, what a genius play. And then it finishes 3-1. And I'm like, what an idiot I was for taking this over in a series where you've got 2 teams are playing fantastic defensive games, and you got Shesterkin who's playing well. You've got Ranta who's playing just as well. I was so pissed about my play on Sunday. I messaged Melissa in our office, and I said, anyone who bought my NHL package on Sunday, give them 7 days of NHL for free for me. That's how mad I was about the play, Andrew. I was pretty pissed about it. With that said, I'm going to go right back. I'm going to go back to the under here. this is the way these teams are playing. They're not giving each other anything. And while the first 30 minutes of that game was a little back and forth game, and we saw a lot of shots on goal, these teams are playing so well defensively. And you look at it through the 3 games that they've played thus far, 2-1, 2-0, and 3-1. It's if it's trending under, just keep taking unders. The first round of the playoffs, we saw Eastern Conference overs, a win at such a huge clip. I think it's just the reverse here. I think you keep hitting the under until you see something, or it's an elimination game. You see something that tells you got to stay off the under. You've got to lay some juice here, unfortunately. But you could probably even find a 5 and get plus money on the under as far as that goes. I'm going to go in another tight contest tonight that we could see the series. I think it's the biggest game of the series. 2-2. It's a brand new series. 3-1, and I think it's over in Carolina in Game 5. So give me the under here, Buster.
Yeah, Carmine, you make a good point, and that's why I'm going with Andrew here on Carolina, because I think this is a game that they will come out and knowing. And now you got to know it's in the back of their mind. Tampa Bay's finished, right? They're sitting there with their feet up, maybe even hitting the golf course for a couple rounds, and they're waiting. So Carolina knows if they even have a chance, they need to finish up this series, muy rapido, as we like to say. You know what? For me, Igor kind of stole that game. I won't say Shesterkin because I always screw it up, I guess. But so I'm going to call him Igor, just like I see you do that all the time, Carmine. So Igor, I thought, stole that game to me. There's no doubt in my mind. I think Carolina is the better team. But again, what's been just killing Carolina is being on the road. Let's just go back on the road alone. They're 0-4 on the road. On the special teams, on their power play, 1-19. That's 5% on the power play. They're number 1. Remember, number 1 penalty kill in the regular season on the road is 13-19. That's 68%. That's no bueno. So they need to play a way, way better game special team wise, which I think they will. And what I really like about Carolina, even though they've been all close games, Carolina has dominated the faceoff circle. And that is another little thing that you need to be good at, because you get those pucks to the point, slap shots, deflections. Everybody wants to shoot from the point. And when you're winning faceoffs, you're getting more chance to shoot the point. Both games at home, they've won the faceoffs 35-27 and 35-26. Now you think the Rangers would get the advantage being at home, last change and all. That wasn't the case. Carolina out-faced off them again, 37-26. And that is the reason, that along with me also believing that Carolina is going to be better on special teams. I don't think, just like Andrew said, perfect point, I do not believe the Rangers can put on another game like they did their last game. I do not think Igor will do the same thing as well. As far as the total, Carm, don't beat yourself up. When you have a 5 last game, that game, new venue, I firmly believe, I was with you. I thought it was going to be over. And if you got 5, why not? Tonight it's back to 5.5, so I want no part of it. But for me, I'm taking Carolina for a small play here. It would be a much larger one, but I'm very worried about what they've done on the road so far in these playoffs.
Love to see we're on the same side, Buster, on this one. And it's a great point you mentioned about the face-off dot. I love that you mentioned that because it's so important in the playoffs, especially when you're on the road, to get some good face-off wins, have success on the draws and try and build offense off that, or even in the defensive zone, to get yourself out of trouble after an icing and stuff like that. And, one point you mentioned was talking about Shesterkin maybe bailing his team out quite a bit. And, people that watch me might think that I just don't like some of the Rangers defensemen. It's not even just that. It's just that Shesterkin is such a great goaltender. He makes the team look better than they are sometimes to me. And that's kind of what you described to me for the last game they had, limiting Carolina to their chances. But when they got a really good chance, there was Igor to bail them out, in another low-scoring fashion. So I agree with Carmine with the under, too, because I don't think Carolina are strangers to low-scoring victories. They have no issue. And you talk about special team stuff there. I think back to when Carolina played against Boston. They gave up. They had like, I think 5 or 6 penalties in the second period, and that just completely cost them the game. They cannot afford to put New York on the power play, and they have to continue themselves to do better on the power play and create more chances. If they do that, I believe they will be successful. But it is a very, very interesting dynamic. And I think it just proves, we talk about it so much in every sport, but in my opinion, you guys know I'm a hockey guy wholeheartedly. I think that home ice advantage is more important in the playoffs and hockey than many other sports, and the thing is, it's not because of the fans. I've tried to describe that to people. It's about getting your stick down last on the face-off draw, and it's about getting that last change when you're, changing lines and you get those matchups out that you'd like to. So we'll see if New York can match up again with them like that. But Buster and I like Carolina here. Carmine looking towards the under in this game. Any points there, Carm, before we move on?
Yeah, and I like the play on taking Carolina because, first of all, 6-0 at home, so home ice has been big for them. But you look at that Bruins series, and they didn't look good in any of those 3 games in Boston, but they looked good in New York at Madison Square Garden. They looked really good, and through the first 2 periods, they had like 35 shots on goal, and it's where a goalie steals a game. Shesterkin stole that goal. The 3-1 final is, you toss in an empty netter, but essentially it was a 1-goal game between these 2 teams. And even the third period was pretty even. I think 10-9 were the shots on goal for the Rangers in that period. But this Carolina team played extremely well in the first 2 periods of that game. If they find a way to score and get up early on this Rangers team, I think it's a completely different thing. They couldn't do it in Boston or against the Bruins, and the Bruins dictated the game there. If they can come out, score first, dictate the game, I think they get the win here.
It's going to be a great one, and so is the next game we are breaking down. Before we get into that, though, it is $2 Tuesday at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Of course, over at Sports Memo, you can get 3 handicappers for $5. And those guys have been on a great run, to my understanding. And I believe it's several different sports over there with basketball, hockey, and baseball, if I'm not mistaken. Hakeem Profit has a 5% $2 Tuesday play up in WNBA. Looking forward to that one at WagerTalk.com. So make sure you guys check those out. And I got some, quick little interesting stat here, guys, that you guys might find kind of cool. This is for this year in the playoffs. This is for the NBA and the NHL here. In the NBA playoffs this year, 28.9% of games decided by 20-plus points, on pace to be the highest percentage since 1959. For the NHL playoffs, 49.2% of games are being decided by 3-plus goals, on pace to be the highest percentage since 1983. So for those of you that don't like puck lines and don't like betting puck lines, because I'm in that category too, guys, but this is the time to bet these puck lines. Teams are winning by margin. You're not seeing a lot of 1-goal games. That is unbelievable. 49.2% of games decided by 3-plus goals. And imagine in that Carolina and New York game today, you get a pick 'em price. You like the Rangers, take the puck line. You like the Carolina Hurricanes, take the puck line. You're getting a really, really good price with that. So I just wanted to bring up those numbers. I found that absolutely ridiculous. Had to mention that for you guys to kind of get your thoughts, and maybe that'll be a little bit useful. But let's jump into the Battle of Alberta here. Calgary and Edmonton going head to head. Edmonton, Buster, they lead the series now 2-1. They are +1. They are -115 at home. We have Calgary -105. The total remains at 6.5 in this one here. And how about the Evander Kane show in that last game? I've been talking about him since the start of the playoffs, Buster, what he's meant to this team, both offensively, physically, defensively, and just kind of, as an experienced guy in the league here. I think he's been great. Of course, playing with a guy like Connor McDavid, well, that probably makes you look pretty good too. But the Edmonton Oilers get it done in convincing fashion, win that one 4-0. I've been shocked by their defense, Buster. Not as much just their offense, by their defensive ability. What are your thoughts here? Do the Calgary Flames respond in this one?
Yeah, you're right about Kane there. It's funny how no one else really wanted him, and Edmonton took a chance, and it's paying off for them. That's for sure. And as you said, Mr. Edmonton Oiler has been. Well, I don't know. Do you think he actually watches the show, guys? Because since me and Carmine had that little discussion 2 weeks ago within the LA series, there, all of a sudden, he showed. I mean, the last 5 games, game 6 and 7 in LA. These 3 games, against this is what we expect from Connor McDavid, do we not? Yeah. This is what we've been looking for the last 3 years in the playoffs, and kudos to him. Although. I have a little play on Calgary for the series, so I don't want to see him go too crazy. He can go back, settle down to where he was last year if he doesn't mind, So, but anyways, Calgary, I mean they're looking very good. It looks like Calgary does not have an answer for him, and that's going to be problematic moving forward, obviously. But
Buster, I believe. A deal? I have Edmonton
sure.
plus 1.5 games. So how about Calgary wins in 7? Is that fair?
Perfect.
Then we'll both
perfect.
Win, right?
No, I'm not good with that.
Of course,
I've got the Oilers plus 175 to win the series. I am not good with the Calgary in 7.
Okay. Okay. So there we go.
So
of course, I'm good with it, Andrew. But yeah, we can't all win. That's the. Oh, well, it is Tuesday, guys, so we have to have some kind of disagreements. But
sure,
and I'm sure you guys might disagree with my pick here, as I do like Calgary to tie up the series here. They they were down 2-1 to Dallas. Remember, they came back, won that series. I know it was Dallas. It's you can argue that Edmonton's much better, but I'm not too sure if they are much better. But we'll give them that. They are playing very well, as you mentioned, Andrew. They are. I don't know how much if they're playing that much better defense, or I think the team, just like you say, McDavid has just brought that emotion and that's what he needs to do. That's what your leaders need to do. And everybody, it's contagious. In the NHL playoffs, that mentality is contagious, and everybody plays better. Even Mike Smith, after that shitty first game, he's bounced back even. Might be a little problem with Mike tonight, though, too. He left with that concussion, and I know it was no big deal he come back, but still, a couple days in, I will be interested to see if he can put on another big show tonight. I'm not sure if he can. Calgary's main problem, we all know it, Markstrom. I know, and Andrew, you always have the attitude, it's not always the goaltender's fault, it's the team, blah, blah, blah. Markstrom has to be good. Did you see Bobrovsky keep Florida in that game, making all those saves on breakaways and stuff? You got to save those saves. He's capable of being that goalie. But there's something not right with him. I've watched him for those 3 games. He's allowed 15 goals. I actually wrote up in my play on Sunday, I actually wrote up saying that if Markstrom plays like he's played the last couple of games, if I was Sutter, I'd put Vladar in net tonight. And I think I kind of stand by that, because I'm not sure what's going on with Markstrom. He just doesn't look right. So they probably won't. They'll probably, go with what they, you always, as they say, you bring the girl that you stay with the girl that you brung to the dance, right? So or something like that. But anyways, it's an old saying, Andrew. But you know what I mean. I really think Calgary's got to be better in net for sure. I'm hoping that will happen tonight. I think it will, because I think Calgary will play a little bit better defensively too. They have done some good things very well, Calgary. They've held that great Edmonton power play to 1 goal in 15 attempts. But as I said about LA and what got them in trouble losing 6 and 7, how about just try not getting into the penalty box? Let's just try that, right? So you're not in that position all the time. So if they stay in the box, I think Calgary can tie the series up. As for the total, that's 6.5. I really don't want any part of this. It'll be interesting if Markstrom plays, then it might go over. If Vladar plays, I think you see a more concerted effort out of Calgary. It's just natural to play maybe a little bit better defense, right? But for us, no part of the total, but I think Calgary gets it done, ties up this series tonight.
All right, Buster, thinking that Calgary bounces back, takes this series tied at 2-2. And for the record, I agree with you with Markstrom. My goalie takes, I defend the goalies if the team is playing super sloppy, but sometimes if you're a goalie the caliber of Markstrom, letting in a few squeakers like that, you got to stop them. But there's also been a lot of 2-on-1s and 3-on-1s even. That's where I wouldn't blame the goalie, But you talk about special teams. That's decided the total in this game. Carm, I'm not sure if you're interested in total or side here, but I just wanted to mention we have the Flames in the last contest 0 for 4. Edmonton 0 for 5. And this game had 4 goals and stayed under the total. If we even saw a couple of those power plays cash in, this game goes over. So the total is pretty much decided by special teams, it seems like, into this series. If we were playing 5-on-5 only, I would take the under, but I don't know if I can get involved in the total because I don't know what we're going to see from the special teams. But Carm, what are your thoughts here on a bounce back situation for the Calgary Flames?
Yeah, well, we're thinking it's going to be a series. I talked about I didn't think home ice in this series would be that important. And Edmonton after that terrible game 1 wins game 2 in Calgary. Calgary could very easily even it up here. It's one where these teams know each other. Andrew, the thing with Markstrom is, get going off of what Buster said is, it's way too early in the series. It's 2-1, and I get it. If they lose tonight, they're in a really bad spot. But you can't bail on Markstrom, who's been your goalie all year long, and go with Vidar. I think you got to keep him in there, and we see how the game goes and how the team responds. The last couple of games, the Flames have allowed the Oilers 40-plus shots on goal. Sometimes those squeakers are going to go in. I get it. It's been a series where it looked like a dead over every single game. But I talked about heading into game 3 that it looked like it could be and probably should be an underplay. The total, I think, was at 7 in that game. And if you looked at game 2, that was a fortunate over. I just thought the way that game played out, it looked like a much tighter game. The teams were going to tighten up after that 15-goal fest in game 1. The chances of, and I could be wrong here, but the chances of Vidar starting tonight are about the same as what the Florida Panthers power play was against the Tampa Bay at 3.6%. It wasn't good. I say you got to stick with Markstrom. You give him another chance, obviously. And if the Oilers somehow blow their doors out in the first couple of periods, he's coming out and he probably doesn't see the goal again, heading back to Calgary for game 5. But you can't bail on him, man. This guy's been good. Yeah, probably a short leash. Yeah, listen, these two teams can make any goalie look bad on their best days. We saw Calgary doing it at the end, the last 30 games of the regular season. They were scoring 7, it seemed like, on every single goalie. And then the Oilers the Oilers are a good team. They're not a one-player team. And I'm going to make this perfectly clear because every time I see someone write this, it makes me cringe. One player does not win you a playoff series. One player does not carry a team. And yes, McDavid is now playing what everyone expected him to do, but the rest of the team is rallying around him. The rest of the team is playing well. It's not just him. He's not out there for 60 minutes. He's out there for 22 minutes. When someone says, McDavid can't carry the team because they got swept by Winnipeg last season, it's not one player, guys. It's not one player. It's a team. Look at Tampa Bay. Perfect example. 4-0 sweep, and the majority of the goals came from that third and fourth line. So with that said, Andrew, if you get a 7 in this game, I'm leaning under in this game. But I can agree with you guys on Calgary in a bounce back spot. We talked about karma, and I talked about it yesterday with Joe Ranieri on the show. Matthew Tkachuk going up to Kane and during the game and saying to him, "Hey man, you're broke. Do you need some money? You want me to lend you some money?" And what happened? Evander Kane, 3 goals, hat trick. That karma sometimes is instant, Andrew. And for Evander Kane, it was instant karma in scoring that natural hat trick last time out. Keep that, for lack of a better word, keep that shit out of the game. Talk about the stuff within a game. Do not talk about a guy's personal. Don't talk about a guy's personal, like his family. Don't talk about his personal thing, stuff that's outside of the game. You bring that into the game and you set yourself up for insta karma, and he got it, man.
Yeah, I mean, it gives a player more motivation than they already had in the playoffs. Personal motivation, and you saw what that happened there with Kane. Look, Look, I'm just going to chime in and say I think a player can change a series and impact a series, but no player can single-handedly do it, which I don't think anybody's really saying. But Ryan Rishaug, he's a Canadian reporter for covers the Oilers. He said that we already knew the level that McDavid can reach. We've seen highlight reel goals. He has now surpassed that level and entered a whole new level over the last couple of games. It's been unbelievable to watch. And Carm, you talk about just things that can motivate a player and motivate teams. I don't know if you saw, but Tkachuk, again, was in the media. He said after the last game, well, it's pretty much just one player that we have to worry about. And then, that was prior to the last game. And then right after he said that, of course, McDavid goes on a line with Kane, and Kane scores 3 goals. So I just love that stuff. It's like the game within the game. They're going at each other in the media. And Tkachuk just has to shut up. Like, when it comes down to it, he has to stop motivating players, really. He better not tell anybody else to have a bad game tonight, or else they'll score a hat trick too. But it's going to be a great game. I look forward to it. And Carm, I'd love to agree with you on the under, because that's where I'm leaning. It's just those power play percentages from last game that scare me off. It's like 0 for 4 and 0 for 5. That's 9 power play attempts.
Yeah.
And they had 4 goals, man. That's it's scary, right?
Listen,
you can't predict power plays.
I get it. And Andrew, I end up kicking myself at times, but we're 100% transparent on the show, because you can go back and watch yesterday's video, and what I discuss is there. We don't delete the videos. We don't avoid talking about it the next day. So, like, taking an over in a game where you have a goalie like Shesterkin and Ranta who are playing extremely well, and 2 teams playing great defensive hockey, and then trying to take an under with 2 teams like the Oilers and the Flames who have been lighting it up, it just defies logic. But when I see a total of 7, and I looked at the last game, and yes, the bounces could have gone, and we could have seen some goals in that game that finished 4-1, and it could have gone over the total. But I felt like a 7 was just too high, and these teams would play better. But it's also figuring that Markstrom, who's played extremely well, would play better as well too. And I've been the biggest naysayer, or what you want to call it, of Smith all season long, and saying that they couldn't win a series. I didn't think they could win a series with Smith in goal, and he proved me wrong. He's played extremely well. He's had some, as you call them, those outlier games where they score on him. They scored 3 goals in 6 minutes, and they chased him in that game. In game 1, but the guy has still been solid, and as long as the team plays well in front of him, he's going to stop some pucks. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And I got to give you some respect, Carm. I appreciate it as a friend and my co-host. Yesterday, I'm feeling pretty down about that play I made. Carm texted me, Buster, and goes, "Look, man, whether or not there's 5 goals in that game or 1 goal, it's going to be a loss either way." And sometimes you want to be closer, than what happened to me last night. But he's right. Whether or not you lose by half a goal or you lose by 5 goals on an over, it's still a loss. So we're all transparent, but that one kind of stung a little bit. But hey, today is a new day, Buster. I look forward to hearing what you have up for grabs, and of course your best bet for today, because I know you have another first period play for us for today. So what's going on for you tonight, Buster?
Okay, Andrew. Yeah, and as far as what Carmine said about about that 1-0, he's dead right. Guess what? I've said on here many times. Doesn't matter if you get the best number, you get the best. You get a plus 140, and it ends up being plus 110 by the end of game time. That shit means nothing. Wins and losses. That's all it means. That's all that matters. So that's all that matters. Anyways, okay, for us, talk about wins. We're doing a lot of winning in the NBA on our 5%ers. 100% in the NBA this year with our 5% releases, and we have one up tonight over at Sports Memo. And also with our 5% plays, we've been doing really well. Going back to even last year, we're hitting 79%, 27, 7-1, going back to last year. So we're doing quite well there. We did lose our last 5% play, so we're looking to bounce back here, but 79% is pretty good. Of course, as you said, Andrew, first period play for me again tonight. It's going to be Calgary. First period on the money line, it's minus 105. I think Calgary just has to. It's a do or die game, if you ask me. They go down 3-1, they're done. I just don't see them coming back on Edmonton. If they get them to 2-2, they're still a good shot. Calgary has been playing like all year. We've used Calgary a lot for these first period plays, and in this series, they are actually 2 wins, no losses, and a push. So we'll take the money line here and go with Calgary to win that first period and get the job done. So as always, best of luck to everyone, and have a good night.
As always, great to see you, Buster. Grab him with basketball and hockey over at sportsmemo.com. Man, what a time of year it is for sports right now. I don't want the playoffs to end. Carm, what do you have going tonight for your clients, and what's your best bet for today?
Yeah, Buster, please, first of all, Buster, please text me those 5% winners. I would love a little extra cash, my friend. But with that said, I'm going to go to
it'll be done in 5 minutes.
I'm going to go with a player prop. I'm going to go with Mr. Big Mouth to have a game tonight in Calgary for Calgary. Matthew Tkachuk. I'm going to take him over 2.5 shots. You got a little bit of juice. This is about 140, and I think the market's going to move this one even higher on him. 3 of the last 4 games he's gone over this number. I think the only time he didn't was I think it was game 2 where he had 2 shots on goal, but he's had 6 and 8 in the other games. And if you're expecting some pushback by the Flames tonight to get even up this series, he's likely going to be a big part of it. So I'm going to take over 2.5 shots on goal, lay the -140 juice on Tkachuk. As far as a couple NHL plays up tonight, and then Saturday, I have that package up at WagerTalk for the Champions League final. I play in the Champions League final along with a bunch of prop bets, and I do it as a customer appreciation. It's up there for $1. So you can't get any better than that. That's my thank you for everyone who's followed along during the season of soccer. So that's it for me. And to all you guys in our chat, love ya. Best of luck tonight, and hit some winners.
Great stuff, Carm. I love seeing you join the prop world with me, and you've been getting it done with these props as well. Tkachuk over 2.5 shots on goal. For me, first and foremost, you can find a free play at my page at wagertalk.com in the MLB. Also have a 4% best bet up for purchase in the MLB and a play in the NHL going up after this show. But for what I have as a best bet for today, I'm going with a prop as well. We're going to continue to ride with these props. This is involving the Carolina Hurricanes. We're looking at Vincent Trocheck over 0.5 points at +110. We're getting a great price on these prop bets in this series because it's a very low-scoring series, which means a lot less is happening, a lot less points are to be had. I look at that second line. I talked about the third line in last series. Well, I think the second line is the most crucial for this Carolina Hurricanes team. When I look at Svechnikov, when he plays alongside Trocheck, they are like yin and yang out there. They have great chemistry. I believe they will get the job done and score at least 1 or 2 goals tonight for the Hurricanes. And Trocheck, whether he scores or gets the assists, I believe he will be involved. And we're getting +110 here, guys, with this prop. So Vincent Trocheck over 0.5 points, +110. That's what I'm looking at. As far as Don Buster, he's got Calgary first period money line at -105. Carmine Bianco, Matthew Tkachuk, the big mouth, as he said, over 2.5 shots on goal. I want to thank both Carm and Buster. I'm Andrew, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.